He'd never experienced a friendship like this where he felt he could be himself, where he could lower his defenses and not have to project a certain image out of fear of being ridiculed, where he didn't need to be strong all the time, but where it was okay to show emotions because Seth did the same. Seth was so much more comfortable in his skin than any man Coulson knew, so much more at ease with the gentler sides of himself. No one would ever mistake Seth for a pushover, yet he had no trouble being authentic and gentle, downright soft at times, but in the best way. Coulson knew Seth wasn't that way with everyone. He'd seen him put a mask on when others were present. He became more professional then, detached, more macho too, as stupid as it sounded. Was that toxic masculinity social media were posting about so much? He had a feeling it was, and now that he had experienced how different a friendship could be if he could be himself, he was all for getting rid of that forced, toxic behavior. Maybe the LGBT community was really onto something, though he suspected that every culture had their own unique challenges. Maybe you should ask Seth about that sometime. Or would that be too personal? "Are you up for another round, or do you want to keep staring at me?" Seth asked, amusement lacing his voice. Coulson blinked. What? Seth was still on his back on the bench, but he was done with his round, his face now dripping with sweat. "Some kind of spotter you are," he teased Coulson. "You were miles away." Actually, he hadn't been, but maybe he should keep that part to himself. After all, feeling this mushy over friendship was one thing, but expressing it might be a few steps too far, even for Seth. "I'm up." Seth got up from the bench, biting his lips, his eyes dancing with laughter. He was clearly holding something back, but Coulson couldn't figure out what it was. What was so funny about what he had said? Then Seth's eyes traveled to Coulson's groin, and it sank in. Coulson groaned in protest. "Really? That's the level we're at once again?" Seth grinned, his whole face lighting up. "Nothing is as funny as a well-timed, unintentional double entendre." Coulson rolled his eyes, but he couldn't quite keep the smile off his face. He loved it when Seth was this free with him. "We'll have to agree to disagree on that." "Pfft, you think it's funny, too. You just don't want to admit it." "Like I said, we'll have to agree to disagree." He did win the bench press contest by 20 pounds, so there was that. It was the most fun he'd ever had in the gym, even more when they followed it up with an exhausting round of weightlifting. By the time they were done, his muscles were screaming for relief. He slapped Seth on his shoulder as they walked slowly toward the locker room. "We need to do this more often." Seth sent him an incredulous look. "More often? Dude, you damn near killed me. I knew you'd be in good shape, but you kicked my ass." "I'll let you kick mine in the ring next time," Coulson said with a smile. "Promise? 'Cause my fragile ego needs some soothing, I'm telling you." Seth held the door open for him, and Coulson walked past him into the locker room. "Nothing fragile about your ego, but I'll humor you." Coulson kicked off his shoes and dragged his sweat-soaked tank top over his head. "I hope you have an extra towel," he asked Seth as he stripped his shorts off and his socks, leaving him in his wet underwear which stuck to his dick and balls. Yuck. Because I need a shower badly, or I'll stink up the place like you wouldn't believe. Seth pointed at a pile of folded towels. "Compliments of the gym," he said, his voice sounding strained. Coulson frowned. Was something off? "Awesome. I assume you're going to shower as well?" Seth swallowed, then looked away, and Coulson's frown grew deeper as he peeled himself out of his boxer briefs and dropped them on the bench. What was Seth's problem all of a sudden? Had he done or said something wrong? But that didn't make sense. They'd been joking until a minute ago. "Yeah, but go ahead. I need to use the restroom first," Seth said, and hurried off without so much as a look back. Coulson's good mood evaporated, and his shoulders hunched as he grabbed a towel and walked into the showers. What the hell had happened? Where had he fucked up?